I want to talk about Black Myth Wukong. Now, this is a game that I, from the inception of seeing it, was like, wait a second, this is something else. Now, when it was first shown, it was a lot of like really big boss battles. So it seemed as if it was going to be a boss simulator that in the vein of Souls. Well, it turns out that this is not actually a Souls game. It might have a few elements in there, but it is much more forgiving from what we understand. It plays more like an action adventure game. It is not as open world as something like Elden Ring. A lot of people were disappointed with that. I'm perfectly fine with that as well. It is more, this is the map that you're on. This is the board that you're on. I'm sure there's going to be some places to explore. It's going to have some hidden things, maybe even hidden bosses, kind of like Elden Ring, but it's not this massive open world skull pounding on the ground kind of a Souls game. It's an action adventure game. Maybe you see difficulty somewhere around, let's say, Ninja Gaiden or Ninja Gaiden Black. Like those were not. I mean, we didn't have the word Souls like right back then. They were just games that were super hard. That's what it seems like it's going to be. So why am I bringing this up now? Well, it's releasing August 20th, right? Today is the 6th. It's releasing in 2 weeks. It's gonna be a big deal. Unfortunately, and I have a PlayStation, but I'm not buying it for the PlayStation. I want to play it on Xbox, so I will wait for whenever it's released. So why I'm decided to bring this up is, and I'm going to go first to Jamie here. Xbox gets browbeaten almost on a daily basis, no matter what they do. They had the greatest show on earth, the greatest video game show this past June, that showed not only they were supporting their gas games, they showed a ridiculous, I would even say redonkulous amount of single player, story driven, heavily graphically made games. Something that Xbox fans like myself, who enjoy Sony games for that, are now getting on Xbox. So it's a big win for everybody. But one of the things that consistently comes up, besides console sales, and we're going to get into that about how the sky is falling with Xbox, and why even bother showing up to the next generation? Why? I don't know. The potato, i.e., the poor Xbox Series S, and it's surprising, and some of the really important context does get left out of that conversation. Like, let's see, I don't know, over 50% of PlayStation users are still on a PlayStation 4, right? So if they bought a Series S, they're coming from a PS4, great console, sold a lot of consoles, but it's a PS4. That generation ended years ago. And they get it. Let's say, for instance, they do come over to Team Green because of Call of Duty Black Ops, because of NCAA 25. They're going to put on this console on a TV that probably isn't even HD. It's probably just a regular 1080p TV, and they're going to be completely blown away. Well, Black Myth Wukong was announced initially for everything. And at the last minute, we got this, what I believe to be a bogus, a very, very half-hearted explanation from the developer. And a lot of people, including myself, called foul and said this is another Sony deal that they've done time and time again. And of course, you've had people come out and say, no, they didn't do that. They're not contracted by it. Listen, I call BS, and here's why. If optimizing the game for the Xbox Series X, which should be identical to the PlayStation 5, because let's face it, the PS5, still a great console, not as powerful as the X. That's a fact. But if we're going to go with the running narrative, Jamie, that it's being held up because of the potato known as the Xbox Series S, here's why I push back on that. Now, this is for this leak comes the way of Game for Index. Now, who is it's again? I've never heard of the person. This is a again, it's a leak. It is a rumor. I do not have this confirmed, but take it for what it's worth. This is why we're having this as the opening salvo rather than a main topic. According to the leaker, the performance of Black Myth Wukong on PS5, and again, this Game for Index is posting this, and the original leaker is Lunatic Ingus. I don't know who he is, but apparently he's a leaker. Fine, whatever. If you want to play the game on the PS5 in 60 frames per second, it's going to be at 1440p. If you want to play it at 30 frames per second, it's going to be 2160p. And according to Lunatic Ingus, Black Myth Wukong is exceptionally well optimized on the PS5, according to the leaker. Now, Jamie, again, this is my opinion. Am I wrong? Well, potentially. I'm not a quote-unquote tech guy. But I can tell you that I think right now the Series S, which actually has more 120 frame per second games in the PS5 right now, today, could do 60 1440p. And I don't necessarily know. I mean, maybe it does 60 at 1080. Maybe it does 30 at 1440p. It's not going to hit 2160. Those big numbers you're going to get on the Series X. But I think that to suggest that the holdup is simply because of optimization, I don't know so much about that now with these numbers. What are your hot takes on this?
Oh, this is going to get spicy. So I've been following this game for a very long time. In fact, I was probably one of the first people on Twitter that was covering this game because it didn't have any announced platforms. They just put out a fancy trailer, amazing graphics, and I was like, I want this. I hope they put it on Xbox. And funny enough, every single reply to those were like, oh, you don't want this kind of game on an Xbox, but that's a story for another day. So last August at Gamescom, it had its officially announced platforms: Xbox, yes, PlayStation, PC. And ever since then, on the website, it's had PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. And about 2 months ago, we hear, or what shall I say, at the Jeff Keighley show, or whatever you call it, there was no Xbox listing. People went mad on Twitter looking for what was going wrong, and then the developer came out and said, look, we having issues with the optimization. We want to have it right. Now, if a game gets delayed due to optimization, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's understandable. I would rather have a game late and running properly than day one and running like, Assassin's Creed Unity back in the day. So, like, I'm perfectly fine with that. But what does get fishy is that the announcement of the delay for Xbox has been completely removed from Black Myth Wukong's website. There's no mention of Xbox on their official website. So to me, it doesn't seem like it's an optimization thing. To me, it seems like, look, Sony has a bit of a quiet year. Maybe Sony's going out of the way to buy up, exclusivity rights. I remember Stellar Blade was originally going to come to Xbox. That never happened. So, like, they clearly going around throwing around money. And I think this is one of those scenarios. Like you said, and a lot of people know this, like 120 frames per second games on Xbox Series S, there's a lot of them. So, like, I can't say this as an optimization thing. We have a bunch of Unreal Engine 5 games that run on the Series S perfectly fine. And then you have this one title that it just happens to be the issue for its delay. And then they remove all mention of it on the website. That's fishy. There's something about this that doesn't seem right. And, with the stuff that came out the other day, I think this developer, maybe they've taken some sort of paycheck or something like that. But, like, I'm looking at their website right now, literally no mention of even the delay at all. So, like, and if you click on the news section on their website, literally they talk about the NVIDIA graphics card and the pre-order page available on PlayStation. That's it. They've removed every single mention of Xbox on their website.
I find that to be very, very suspicious, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's sus at the end of the day. And, you can mention this online. People call it tinfoil hat wearing. But if you point out legitimate facts, there's a problem here. And you have these companies, they don't want to put games on Xbox, maybe because they want a Game Pass check. Maybe they want Xbox to pay for the funding. I don't know. but this seems to be happening time and time again. And I think, like, well, we're obviously going to talk about this later in the show, but there's over 25 million Xbox Series consoles out there. That's nothing to wave a stick at, right? That's a
It's
lot of
actually
people.
closer to 30 now.
Yeah.
We got some new information about that, and they're a pinch closer to 30. So you're right. How do you wave the white flag with 30 million potential customers? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I think, a lot of these developers, that they look at Xbox not as like a secondary or like a third kind of console. Like, they just don't like the platform. But they negate that there's all these gamers that have been looking forward to their game for the past year plus, and now they're just being told, "Hey, it's not coming day one. Actually, it may not come ever because, again, it's not listed on the website." There's something extremely fishy about this situation. It'll be
Indeed.
and the thing is, we may hear the truth like 5 years from now, and it might end up being something like really shady, and no one will care. No one will even cover it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Xbox fans deserve to know why Xbox hasn't been listed on the website anymore. We deserve to know because if they said, "Hey, look, it's not coming day one, but it's coming in like November," I don't think anyone would really be that annoyed. It's like, okay, it's a bit disappointing, but it's the fact that there's no release window at all. Because at least with Baldur's Gate, when that whole situation happened, they did say they wanted to get it on the console by the end of the year. But with this, nothing, and that's concerning.
You're not wrong. Just real quick, Randy A. Well, Randy, welcome to the program. As always, I've seen you in the chat before. He says the Black Myth Wukong developers already said it wasn't an exclusivity deal for the game. And you know what, Randy? You are 100% right. But you know what? This isn't about exclusivity. This is about an indefinite delay. Now, they didn't say, again, go back and look what they said, even just recently with the whole S game situation where a particular unnamed developer said, "Who needs Xbox?" Remember, we talked about that yesterday. And again, your mileage is going to vary on whether you believe it or you don't. But this is not, and we're not suggesting this is an exclusivity play. It's coming to Xbox. They said it was. The issue, and a well-documented one, thanks to, of course, Jamie Moran, that even at the website, Xbox has been scrubbed from the entire website as if the box itself doesn't even exist when this was announced for the Xbox. So I'm sorry to say, if you don't believe Sony money had at this, I'm not going to fight with you. I hear you. But I would have to, and I will continue to disagree, because I don't think that's the case. I do, in fact, think that they paid them to have this scrubbed from their website, no mention of Xbox, buy it here on PlayStation, and they're doing that because they are super light on first-party games. It's not bad business. I'm not calling them a bunch of, SBs. Listen, it's what Sony does. This is their business. They're not, I mean, are they evil? I'm not going to get into that. I can tell you right now, if you got to get a refund, good luck, Charlie Brown. But I can tell you that this is one of those situations where this new information that leaked about the actual specs tells me that it's more nefarious than people want to admit. And if you're a Sony fan, you don't care because it's coming to your platform. If you're an Xbox fan, you're like, well, you know what? That sucks. This has now been delayed, quote unquote delayed from our platform. Avowed got it delayed into 2025. So some people are going to be disappointed. Listen, there's a lot of games to play. I'm okay with it. I'm just saying that I think there's a bit of a fugazi going on here. Infinite Umbra, I want to bring you in on it because, again, I pulled the actual original tweet from Lunatic Ingus, and he said this: I saw a lot of people worried about Black Myth Wukong running bad on the PS5. I can confirm that the PlayStation 5 version is very optimized. The dev kits were also at Gamescom and Hangzhou, which I believe is another event. And he has it confirmed here, 1440p at 60 frames on the PS5 and 2160p at 30 frames if you want a more visual presentation. And I don't think there's anything wrong with 1440 60, but of course, some people are going to have a problem with that. I certainly do not. Just based on the specs, again, take it with a grain of salt. They're leaked specs, and this is a rumor. I kind of feel like the money hatting thing actually happened, and nobody is ever going to admit it publicly. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, no, I agree with you 100%. 1440p at 60 is actually really solid, especially if you have a decent panel for it, right? Or a TV. But so that's decent. Looking at the specs, they're seeing how it's fully like well optimized. It makes you think, okay, if you can get 1440p at 60 on a PS5, I feel like you can get 1080p at 60, if not 30, on a Series S.
Yes.
So to me, that seems just as weird a little bit to me. I will agree with that. You want to take them at their word and say, well, okay. I don't think they'll just be like, let's just do this against Xbox, right? But then we know Sony. And that's the problem. And that's why we're having this problem where we're like, hold on. Let me turn up. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misread. Sorry, Abdel. He was saying low, and I'm thinking he said he couldn't hear me. So the problem is that we've known Sony's history as far as, at least us that have been paying attention, all of us here in the chat, etc. We've been paying attention to what Sony has done over the years. So we know they will money head the hell out of some things and, and then hide their hands at times. So
yes.
Or they'll do some shady practice where, all of a sudden, now these games are not allowed on Game Pass, etc. Right? Not that it's not wise of them, but that's these things we know they'll do. So we're already at a defensive stance when it comes to something that is like this, or what we see, like Jamie pointed out, with Stellar Blade, which I thoroughly enjoyed, which was announced for Xbox, and then suddenly, it will. What happened was, So yeah, I get it 100%. The problem is this: Microsoft stepped out and said something about it, where they hinted at this being the case. Where
I am glad you are bringing it up. Please run with that narrative, because you know what? I absolutely failed as a host. I forgot that. Like I actually forgot
you didn't
that.
fail. But yeah, Microsoft themselves hinted at it, and I don't think they are going to just say that for nothing, right? I don't think they'll just say that for nothing. And they said, we can't. How do they put this? They said they couldn't comment on deals made by their partners with other platform holders. Well, I don't think you're going to say that if you don't have some inside knowledge that Sony possibly worked out a deal with what's their name, the studio, Game Science. I don't think they would say that unless Sony may have worked out a deal, and they're trying to be, I guess, slightly respectful about it, while also tipping us off to it. I just don't think I don't think Microsoft is in the business of doing that if they don't have some good faith in knowing that may be the case. That's my thinking on it. So it's still shady. We have no confirmation of anything, but the fact that we know Sony has done what people consider shady, many of us have considered shady over time, and the fact that we know they will money hat games that were previously announced and to come to Xbox, yeah, it definitely does look like, okay, they pulled something here. We can't quite point out what it was, but it seems like something, right? And we had this whole situation happen even with Baldur's Gate, if you guys remember. People like, did they work out a deal? Now that turned out not to be the case, but that even then was something where it felt shady. But again, this is the type of I guess foundation that gaming platforms have created, because it leads to an untrustworthiness and Sony and what they do, right? So yeah, it's possible. I just still feel like that 1080p at 60 or 30 from a supposedly well optimized engine with Unreal Engine 5, of course. I had to say it.
That's your middle name, sir.
I'm trying to get paid now. Epic. I'm here.
Pay this man, will ya?
But I feel like, yeah, that might be. I feel like it's a little shaky, because I feel like if you can get you can get the game running at 4K at 30 and that 1440p 60 on PS5, I feel like at the very least 1080p 60, if not 30, should be capable on the Series S.